Hey everybody, this video is called Look at These Kings, and tonight we're going to continue our pass-through study here in the book of 1 Kings, looking at the 15th chapter, where we're going to look at quite a few kings of Judah and Israel here. So 1 Kings chapter 15 verse 1 through 8 starts out, in the 18th year of King Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, Abijam became king over Judah. He reigned 3 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Maachah, the granddaughter of Abishalom, and he walked in all the sins of his father, which he had done before him. His heart was not loyal to the Lord his God, as his heart was of his father David. Nevertheless, David's sake, the Lord his God gave him a lamp in Jerusalem by setting up his son after him and by establishing Jerusalem. Because David did what was right in the eyes of the Lord and had not turned aside from anything that he had commanded him all the days of his life, except in the matter of Uriah the Hittite. And there was a war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all the days of his life. Now the rest of the acts of Abijam and all that he did are not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah. And there was war between Abijam and Jeroboam. So Abijam rested with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David. Then Asa his son reigned in his place. So Abijam is also known as Abijah, more commonly in 2 Chronicles chapter 13. And from here into verse 28 of the next chapter, we're going to see a quick survey of the kings of Judah and Israel between 913 through 885 BC. And the author notes that the high places remained in Judah, as we see in verse 14. And the sins of Jeroboam continued in Israel in both chapters. And Abijam means father of the sea, and Abijah means my father is the Lord. And some speculate his name changed because of his sin. And 3 years was that he reigned was between 913 and 911 BC. And parts of years were considered as whole years in this reckoning. And in verse 3, the same statement made concerning Solomon. In verse 5, what was right in the eyes of the Lord, it was used frequently when speaking of kings of Judah, and means only that they did or did not do what was generally acceptable to God. And Abijam, we see he reigned for 3 years only, and God preserved the dynasty of David in Jerusalem for the sake of David, and not because of the character or quality of his descendants. In verse 9 through 11 says, in the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Asa became king over Judah, and he reigned 41 years in Jerusalem. His grandmother's name was Maachah, the granddaughter of Abishalom. Asa did what was right in the eyes of the Lord as his father David. So we see Asa was the first of the religiously good kings of Judah. And 40 years of reigning was between 911 and 870 BC. And Asa was one of Solomon's great grandsons, and he took the throne of Judah at the end of Jeroboam's reign in Israel, after his father's brief reign. And he followed the same heart we see as King David. And in the Hebrew language, father is often used for ancestor. So you might see and be like, whoa, that wasn't his father. Why does it say father here? It's because in the Hebrew language, father is a term that can also mean ancestor. In verse 12 through 15, it says, and he banished the perverted persons from the land, and removed all the idols that his fathers had made. Also he removed Maachah, his grandmother, from being queen mother, because she had an obscene image of Asherah. And Asa cut down her obscene image and burned it by the brook Kidron. But the high places were not removed. Nevertheless, Asa's heart was loyal to the Lord all his days. He also brought into the house of the Lord the things which his father had dedicated, and the things which he had himself had dedicated, silver, gold, and utensils. So Asa, we see he did 4 great things. And first, he removed the sacred prostitutes. Second, he rid the land of all the idols made by those before him. And third, he removed the corrupt queen mother and burned the idol that she had made. And lastly, he placed the holy things, the items that he and his father had dedicated to the Lord, back into the temple. And though he did not engage idolatry, his failure was his toleration of the high places. An obscene image is from the verb meaning to shudder. An horrible, repulsive thing suggests a shocking, perhaps a sexually explicit idol. And as he removed his grandmother Mecha, who was the official queen mother because of her association with this idol, Brook Kidron was also a seasonal river that ran through the Kidron Valley that marks eastern boundary in Jerusalem. And we see Asa's heart was loyal in the reforms against idolatry and the state-sanctioned perversion as he restored certain silver and gold utensils to the temple. And verse 16 through 24 says, Now there was a war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, all their days. And Baasha, king of Israel, came up against Judah and built Ramah, and then he might let none go out or come in to Asa, king of Judah. Then Asa took all the silver and gold that was left in the treasuries of the house of the Lord and the treasuries of the king's house, and delivered them into the hand of his servants. And King Asa sent to them Ben-Hadad, the son of Tabrimon, the son of Hezion, king of Syria, who dwelt in Damascus, saying, Let there be a treaty between you and me, as there was between my father and your father. See, I have sent you a present of silver and gold. Come and break your treaty with Baasha, king of Israel, that he may withdraw from me. So Ben-Hadad heeded King Asa and sent the captains of the armies against the cities of Israel. He attacked Ijon, Dan, Abel, Beth-Maachah, and all Chinneroth with the land of Naphtali. Now it happened when Baasha heard it that he stopped building Ramah and remained in Tirzah. And then King Asa made a proclamation throughout all Judah, none was exempted. And they took the stones and the timber of Ramah, which Baasha had used for the building, and with them King Asa built Geba of Benjamin and Mizpah. And the rest of all the acts of Asa, all his might that he did, and the cities which he had built, are not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah. But in the time of his old age he was diseased at his feet. So Asa rested with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father. Then Jehoshaphat his son reigned in his place. So we see that Baasha began attacking Judah after they enjoyed 10 years of peace after Jeroboam's defeat by Abijam, as seen in the account given in 2 Chronicles 13, verse 19 and 20. And Ramah was a strategic town in Benjamin, 5 miles north of Jerusalem, along the main north and south highway. And it was built by Baasha, the king of Israel, to effectively have a blockade to the city of Jerusalem. And Ben-Hadad was the grandson of Hezion and the son of Tabrimon. And he was a powerful ruler over of the Syrian kingdom. And Aramea was in the center of Damascus, Syria. And the majority of historians think that Ben-Hadad reigned between 900 to 860 BC and was succeeded by a son or a grandson, Ben-Hadad II, who ruled from 860 to 841 BC. And Asa sent a sizable gift to influence Ben-Hadad, and he influenced him to break his treaty with Israel, enter instead a treaty with Judah, and then invade Israel from the north. And the army of Ben-Hadad the first invaded Israel and took the cities in the land north of the Sea of Galilee. And check out on your own 2 Chronicles chapter 14 through chapter 16 for more details regarding the reign of Asa. If you don't want to check it out, don't worry. Lord willing, we'll be hitting on that over the summer. In Jeremiah 41:9, it refers to the pit of cistern made by Asa for fear of Baasha, the king of Israel. In verse 25 through 32, says, Now Nadab, the son of Jeroboam, became king over Israel in the 2nd year, Asa, king of Judah, and he reigned over Israel 2 years. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord, walked in the way of his father, and in his sin, by which he had made Israel sin. Then Baasha, the son of Ahijah, of the house of Issachar, conspired against him. And Baasha killed him at Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines, while Nadab and all Israel laid siege to Gibbethon. And Baasha killed him in the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, and reigned in his place. And so it was so, when he became king, that he had killed all the house of Jeroboam. He did not leave to Jeroboam anyone that breathed until he had destroyed him, according to the word of the Lord which he had spoken by his servant Ahijah the Shilonite, because of the sins of Jeroboam, which he had sinned, and by which he had made Israel sin, because of his provocation with which he had provoked the Lord God of Israel to anger. And now the rest of the acts of Nadab, and all that he did, they are not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel. And there was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, all their days. So Nadab, he ruled between 910 and 909 BC. And Gibbethon was a city about 32 miles west of Jerusalem within the territory of Dan. And it was given to the Levites back in the book of Joshua 19, verse 44. But it was controlled by the Philistines, on whose border it laid. And the northern king, Baasha, annihilated all of Jeroboam's family. And this act fulfilled Ahijah's prophecy against Jeroboam that we looked at back in the last chapter, verses 9 through 11. And that was on Tuesday this week. But, however, Baasha went beyond the prophecy, as chapter 14, verse 10, specified judgment only on the men. And we see that Baasha killed not just men, he killed all the men, women, and children. And the commemoration for wicked Jeroboam of Israel follows through the history of the northern kingdom relentlessly, as the standard of sin by which judgment fell on the successive kings. And Nadab was like a father-like son, continuing in the sins of idolatry and hardness toward God. And in 2 Chronicles 11:14, it shows that Jeroboam and his sons drove the priests out of the land of Israel, including Nadab. In verse 33 and 34, to wrap up the chapter here, says, In the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, Baasha, the son of Ahijah, became king over all Israel in Tirzah, and reigned 24 years. He did evil in the sight of the Lord, and he walked in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin by which he had made Israel sin. And so we see that Baasha ruled in Israel for 24 years between 909 and 886 BC. And we see he's identified as another wicked man that hold a dreadful period of Israel spiritually and politically. And Baasha can be thought of as the spiritual descendant of Jeroboam. But to have a quick wrap up here, because the chapter is through at this point, we look at the 2 kings of Judah with the reign of Abijam and who's also known as Abijah from 2 Chronicles 13. And we looked at the summary of the reign of King Asa of Judah and his reforms. And Asa, we see he acted righteously even when his family was wrong. And his heart was loyal to the Lord all the days of his reign. And we saw that Asa bought favor of the king of Syria, Ben-Hadad. And we looked at the kings of Israel, who Nadab ruled briefly. And we also looked at the reign of Baasha, who also ruled Israel. And that's going to wrap up this video for today. We are officially 2/3 of the way through our study in 1 Kings. And we'll see you next as we'll look at the 5 successive kings in Israel next week. So I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. God bless. We'll see you this upcoming week.